Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Willie, and this is the encouraging word for today. Why do some people persevere through terrible situations and circumstances while others turn back or give in or give up? What's the difference? Why do some people pray through and see answers, while others pray and then give up and don't see answers? I understand God is working in all situations. I totally get that. But why do some people seem to have this perseverance, seem to have this ability to stand in the face of adversity and persevere through it? Why? If I had to pick one person in the Bible who had that quality of perseverance, who had that quality of faith, that persevered, that never gave up, the person I would pick, there are many to choose from, but the person I would pick would be the Apostle Paul. Think about it. He's beaten up, he's rejected, he's tortured, he's shipwrecked. You just read 2 Corinthians, he'll tell you so many things that he went through, and you just read his life, and it's incredible. How did he persevere? And now he's in prison, and most people believe he eventually was beheaded for his faith, yet he never, ever gave up. And believe me, if he had turned back, that would have been made big news. But there's not a word of that anywhere. What's his advice? You know, in life, you can take advice from a lot of different kinds of people. Most people who give you advice, particularly Christian advice, are really, and I say this nicely, or I mean it nicely, wannabes. They haven't passed through the fire. I want to take advice from someone who's been in the fire and passed through the fire with their faith intact. Not someone who's read about it or has ideas about it or has studied about it. Someone who's lived it and has the scars to prove it and has persevered and come out victorious. The great thing is that Paul is happy to give us advice. In fact, he wrote 4 books while he was in prison. And if you really examine them in different parts of those books, including Colossians, which we're going to look at today, he gives practical advice on how to persevere in your faith, how to defeat Satan's attacks and distractions and temptations in your life. And he gives us that advice in particular in Colossians chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. Here's what it says. Since then, you have been raised with Christ. Set your hearts on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. Did you pick out a key phrase that he uses twice in those just 2 verses? You got it. Set your heart. Set your mind. Setting, firm, decided. You have to just set your mind and you set your heart. So he starts out by saying, since then. In other words, now that you are a follower of Jesus and you've been raised with Christ. Before you were not. So you can't do this if you haven't been raised with Christ. You must be raised with Christ. That means you must come to him in repentance and receive forgiveness and a new life, adoption and all those things that he gives you when you believe in him and turn from your prior way of living. Now you have a new life. So now that you have a new life, you have to live a new way. And so he tells us the foundation for living a new way. So he says, since you've been raised with Christ, set your heart on things above. Your heart. He doesn't mean my physical heart. A heart in the Bible refers to our desires, our longings, the things that we want, the heart, the issues of the heart. I looked it up in the Greek language, which it was originally written in, and the word that's translated into English, heart, is the things you seek. The things you seek or desire. It's not really the word heart. It's the things you desire. And we understand the things we desire, that comes from our heart. And we desire things. So in other words, desire things above. Desire Christ above all other things. When you do that, you will persevere no matter what happens. If your desires are set on material possessions, your desires are set on a relationship, on a status in life, you're not going to persevere. Set your heart on Christ. It's a secure place to set your heart. So he says, set your heart on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. That's our desires. Then he says, set your minds. Your mind is your thoughts, and that word is thoughts, the things you think. Thoughts. Set your thoughts on things above, not on earthly things. Yes, we have to use earthly things, but not as if we own them or as if that was all there is. We hold them lightly, and we set our mind on things above. In fact, in Philippians 3:19, Paul mentions people whose destiny is destruction because their mind is set on earthly things. And listen, if your mind is set on earthly things, you're going to fall. But if your mind is set on Christ, things above, you can never fall, because everything can change. You can lose everything, but your mind is set above. Your heart is set above. The battle, you see, is for your heart and for your mind. That's where the battle is. That's where Satan tries to get a foothold in your heart, your desires, things you need. Oh, you need that, you need this, on your mind. That's where the battle is, your heart and your mind. Remember what Jesus said? Famous saying of Jesus in Matthew 22:37. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind. The heart and mind again. Set your heart, set your mind. Love Jesus. And when you love Jesus more than anything else with all your heart and all your mind, he's higher than all other loves. You will persevere through every circumstance, through sickness, through death of loved ones, through everything you go through. You will persevere, and you will pray with persistence and power. Even you would be willing to go to jail and be willing to be killed for the sake of the kingdom, because no one can stop a person whose mind and heart is set above. No demon in hell can stop a person whose mind is set on Christ and whose heart is set on Christ. So, my friends, let's set our hearts and set our minds. God bless you, and I will see you tomorrow.